Welcome to the From the 108 podcast, starring the drunk uncles of White Sox Twitter. He's a Twitter-like whore, an Instagram thirst trap, and your grandma's guilty pleasure, Beef Loaf. A West Coast attitude in a decidedly Midwest body, My Sox Summer. And your host, he's sharing obscure music thoughts to give you time to hit the bathroom, Terezi E.
Thank you, Cornsey, and welcome to the From the 108 podcast. Get ready for some baseball, beer, and bullshit. And remember the drinking rules. If Beef Loaf says allegedly, or they made a video about that, you drink. If My Sox Summer mentions his time on the West Coast or blames his kids for something, you drink. If White Sox Dave mentions Rick Hahn or parades, you drink. And if I fuck up the intro or make MSS appear to be dumb, you drink. And of course, you can make all of us drink for a tip of $1.08 or more. But speaking of drinking, fellas, what are you drinking? And I'm going to start with White Sox Dave. White Sox Dave, what are you drinking?
All right, so this is all I had. Yes. I made a big-ass pot roast the other night, and this is a red table blend.
Is that
from Trader Joe's? I guess Trader Joe's is supposed to have good wine. I think it's pretty good. This is like the first time I've ever drank a glass of wine on my own, by the way.
Just sitting at home, glass of wine.
Sitting at home.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not in the presence of good company right now, but that's what I got.
I'm trying to think. I probably drank 10,000 glasses of wine by myself at home. So you're catching. I'm like Will Chamberlain. You're going to catch up to me little by little.
Since January.
Beef, I remember back when I lived in the West Loop when it was with Johnny Love.
Yeah.
We had a big New Year's Eve party, and we bought like 2 cases of wine, and like 4 bottles got drank. So like we had wine for like, I shouldn't say months, but weeks. And I just remember like sitting on the couch with him, and we're both drinking directly out of the bottle. We're just like, wait, why waste the glass?
Are we just telling wine stories? Because I got a good one too. And I don't know if you know Dave, but I used to live on the West Coast. And when I was out there, I was a little underemployed, and a girl that I was hanging out with was also underemployed. And we went to Trader Joe's and bought a bunch of wine, and I set my pants on fire while we were cooking dinner. They were really sweet cargo shorts. And then I set them on fire, and it didn't even really bother me because I was that hammered on $3 Chuck. So it was good
loins
stuff.
Were really burning.
Where were your pants laying on the floor exactly when they got on fire? You didn't have them on, did you? There's no way you had them on.
They were totally on. But thankfully, they were like those, early 2000s cargo shorts, and they were like, thick as fuck material, like that tuck cotton, and just like flamed up. And I was like, oh shit!
Didn't get your
I better put this out. No, I did not burn myself. It was good.
No cargo shorts are sweet. According to the comments.
Never mind. I'm not going to ask any more questions. I'll just stop.
Beef, what are you drinking tonight?
Baby, I'm finishing up this bottle of 4 Roses. I'm not normally a whiskey guy, but it just felt like a nice glass. And we'll get in the Beef Loaf glass, even though it's plastic. I still love this glass.
Cheers to you.
It's got a beautiful nose on it, much like me.
Good stuff.
I wish I could be a whiskey guy.
I can't get into it. I like it okay, but I'm not. These guys like whiskey. I'm not.
I can't get into drinking anything like other than beer, really.
Yeah.
Personally, that's just it. I can't. Yeah. Like I don't enjoy. I don't know. Just me.
As you get older,
I'm not a foodie, but as it comes to drinks, I'll drink like anything.
You guys do drink anything.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll get into it.
Down on everything.
And Dave knows that because when we went up to the office, he just immediately poured us a glass, and he was like, I don't even know what this is. I'm just pouring you a glass.
But I know you'll drink it, so just drink it up.
I will drink anything. It's just I don't enjoy like a glass of wine, or a glass of whiskey. That was the Jameis Winston whiskey.
That's
right. You guys in Jameis Winston are like the only ones that have drank out of that whiskey glass.
That's awesome. Just all around good time.
MSS, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking Bardstown, the Fusion series, which Head Bum in Charge actually alerted me that I thought I had all 4s. These are all different. So this is a Fusion Series 8. and it is delicious. So when I bought all the different ABVs, I bought different years, and I didn't know that. So I've probably drank a bunch of different Fusion series, and they're all delicious. Chorizo, what are you drinking?
So I got the I'm still doing the full pocket Pilsner from Goose. I was planning to have a different beer tonight. I found a place that had Cerveza Cristal.
Oh, and sold out, right?
I ordered it, and like I was like, all right, dude, it's gonna get here by 7. We're in good stead. And then like they sent me a thing. It's like declined, lack of stock. I was like, son of a bitch. I'm gonna have to go to Peru to get it. I'm gonna have to go down to Peru to get it.
I love it.
You can't expense that. You can't expense that. Just saying.
That's right. The flight. That's why it's not expensive.
We can't.
You're asking what is that, Dave?
Yeah.
Explain it to him, Trees. Explain what's going on with that beer.
It piques my interest.
So apparently in the early 2000s in Chile, there was they started to show the Star Wars movies down there, right? And like instead of doing commercials, they just wove commercials into the actual movie. So like when Obi-Wan's going to get the lightsaber for Luke, he like actually opens up a cooler and like pulls out like a beer and like you just see his hand and you see the beer, and then this Latin like song comes over and it's just like Cerveza Cristal, and it's like and then it just cuts back to the regular movie, and they do it all over the place, like the Emperor's reaching out and grabbing one and stuff, and it's like, and it just surfaced recently, and I've been looking for this beer and I finally found it, and just up on the north side, and then like they didn't have it.
Grail, yeah.
Then they didn't have it, so
It's gone. It's been.
I'm still on the hunt.
I'm excited to follow your trek here.
Trezo, looks like we got a drink already, man. We got
shit,
in there for my guy
Jerry
Jerry
O'Sullivan says,
O'Sullivan.
I'm looking forward to my matchup tomorrow. Have a great show and cheers, boys. Vote Jerry. Cheers,
Oh,
Jerry.
Jerry, bless you, my friend.
Cheers, Jer. Good luck tomorrow, buddy.
Good man.
Beef, how you doing tonight, buddy?
You know what, boys? I mean, I was doing fine, but I have a little bit of a problem. You know, as you become an older man and you've got furniture for a while, there's that spot in the couch that is kind of your spot where you always sit. And for me, I sit real forward on my couch generally so I could be at the table. And so that spot has like a slump to it, which, okay, all right. I maybe need to lose some pounds as a slump, but it's more like it's worn in, MSS. It's not about being a fat guy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, today, when I got up after dinner, we were watching an episode of The Wire. I told you I'm rewatching The Wire. I got up off the couch, and I wasn't sitting directly on that spot, kind of like back of that spot a little bit. A series of springs and levers and other pulleys made a bunch of noises when I got up. And so my question for you guys is, like, how many more times can I do that before I got to get a new couch? Before I have to, like, totally junk this couch?
Years.
Yeah, do I got some mileage on this? Because Mrs. Beef heard it. She's looking at me and she goes, yeah, maybe it is time for a new couch. Like, immediately, I got a few left, though. I mean, come on.
Maybe after Sox season, looking to get it, you know? You ain't going to be around much during Sox season anyway, so don't worry about that. You'll be outside. You're fine. You're fine.
Now, whose decision is it to get the new couch? Because if that happened to me, it would be years. But if I had a significant other wife that could take charge of something, like that.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is, Dave. My wife is more assertive. She more gets shit done. I'm so fucking lazy. Obviously, you guys know already. It took me years to get my fucking license back, right? So you know how much of a piece of shit I am. My wife will get right to it, and the fucking new couch will be here before I even realize we ordered a new couch. Like, that's how quick it'll be done. I'm kind of relenting a little bit just because I feel like my woven in spot is a little lower to the ground. I'm almost like, sitting Indian style on the floor when I'm on the couch. That's how low the woven spot is. So, but hearing all those pulleys and springs and shit, that did alert me a bit. I was like, man, I might have to. Dave, you were talking about getting on the pellet. I might have to get on the Nordic track right next to me and just. I might have to work it out because it's a little too much. I think, at this point.
You know what you should do? You should invite someone over who's a little bit heavier and be like, "Oh, have a seat," and see if they break your couch. And then you're like, "What'd you do?
Guilt them out.
Throw me a couch."
You know who's perfect for that? The guy who lost 4 pounds in the 108 weight loss challenge, Wally Money. You just throw him over in that spot and see what happens.
I don't want him.
4 pounds, good for him.
4 pounds in 21 weeks, Dave. I mean, he really put it out there.
Someone said that this man lost 3 ounces a week. hung up. That's pretty much it.
He literally did nothing. He just decreased the amount of pops he drinks.
MSS, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. So we're trying to get plans together for Easter, and usually the family, my other side of the family, my mom's side of the family, hosts Easter on Palm Sunday. So we're trying to get this all taken care of. I started this thing at the beginning of the year, and I was like, hey, we're all family. We're going to have a family group message instead of 7 fucking messages between everything, because it all gets all fucked up. So we have one central location, and my lovely wife was like, I'm going to send it to that message chain, so then we're all involved. And it's like, perfect, thank you. And so my mom responds and says some stuff. My sister responds. And apparently my mom responded with something I didn't see right away. And my wife's like, hey, did you see that your parents are coming in for opening day weekend or week? And I was like, huh? And she's like, yeah. He's like, they're coming in. They said they're coming in. So I sent them the text when I was at the gym the next day. And I was like, hey, Ma, you guys coming in for opening day eve? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. We're coming in for the night before. We're going to come watch your show. Just my dad. She's like, oh, your dad didn't tell you? And I was like, no, he did not tell me. He did not. Absolutely did not. So I was discussing this with Treasy and everything. Treasy's like, well, maybe your dad already bought a ticket. And I was like, motherfucker can't even fucking send me a text and tell me he's coming in. I doubt that he opened his wallet and bought a ticket for this fucking event. So boys, there's one less ticket available for the opening day eve at the Ramova. Dave, remember, you guys are invited to come. All the Barstool boys, whoever wants to come. We'll put you right on the list. We're going to have 87 people on the guest list. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a rocking good time.
I just envisioned your dad, MSS, rolling up there, no ticket, and he didn't tell you. It's like, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? And badgering them to get into the goddamn venue.
He's like, I'm Papa Summer. What's going on? Why are you not letting me in this house? So yeah, but yeah, no, that's my thing tonight. My dad just doesn't even tell me he's coming in to support me. I appreciate it though, and we'll see you all on opening day eve over at the Ramova with Sox Machine, featuring Courtney Finicum just got announced. So
get those tickets.
That's a special guest. You got James Fegan, Jim Margulis, Josh Nelson. I have some interesting things to say to those guys. It's going to be fun. I hope they take questions.
I doubt they'll listen to you, but yeah, go ahead.
Dave, how you doing?
Definitely not.
How was spring training?
It was good. It was good. We got a shit ton done. Had a lot of fun. I will say this: Camelback Ranch right now is a precursor to what Sox Park's going to be. It was a complete ghost town with the It was like sad. It was sad how few people there. Like you could hear the conversations across the park. It was bad.
God.
But I mean, aside from that, I said this multiple times, and I want to reiterate it to those who listen to my show. I hate that I say that the vibes were good, because if I heard Chuck Garfien or Scott Merkin or someone say that and I didn't see them myself, I'd be like, fuck that. No, don't talk to me about fucking vibes. Vibes were good though. They these guys, they know exactly what their projected records are, what projections are saying about them. They know exactly, and they're like, we're gonna go out there and we are gonna play baseball, balls to the wall every single fucking day. And I believe him, I guess. I have no choice to, but that's we'll see. And Getz was very candid, both on the camera and off the camera, about cleaning, clubhouse cancers out of there. And he didn't name names, and I want to reiterate that as well, that this did not come from his mouth, but from other people's mouths I spoke to. Inside and outside the organization, it sounded like Yasmani Grandal was a very big problem on that team.
I can't imagine.
I was going to ask this later when we got to the interview portion, because reading between the lines, it seems like it.
Every fucking person, not necessarily White Sox employees, fucking people at Camelback were like, oh man. And then I said that, and I had people from the Brewers reaching out to me that guy was the absolute worst person I've ever been around.
Oh my God.
One guy, this is literally a quote that I got from somebody. If I walked in my house and that guy was fucking my wife, that wouldn't be the most offensive thing he said to me or done.
Oh my God.
Oh God. Yeah.
Holy shit.
That good, huh? That's
So,
I can't wait.
So
We're gonna get
to all that in a little bit.
The gut stuff. I'm excited now.
Sorry, I got a little wordy there, but it was a good trip. Good trip.
I mean, you almost killed Chief, which is
Yes.
I saw that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was fun. That was a nice little switcheroo.
And I hear about it's tough to get the good accommodations at spring training just because everyone's going down there. But the Portillo's house that you guys were at fucking looked amazing, man. You guys had a great setup. Fuck.
Honestly, our Wisconsin Dells condo thing we stayed in a couple weeks back, that was more expensive. That was only like $3,000 for 5 days or something. It wasn't that bad.
Oh shit, not bad at all.
Yeah. So it wasn't that bad. Yeah,
Poor Danny had to sleep on a trundle bed, but hey, $3,000. There's a lot of people in that fucking house.
MSS, I'll cuddle with you. We'll find a way.
Sammy Davis Jr. wants to know if he can play Yasmani Grandal next year's 108 tournament.
Yes.
First round. We'll see what we can line up. Tracy, how you doing, my friend? What are you up to?
I'm doing good. I'm like, you're on the internet and you see like an article pop up or something, and it catches your eye, and I saw an article that said rat problem at New Orleans police headquarters. So you immediately think like someone who's a snitch, right?
Yeah,
like,
an informant.
Like something like that. No, fucking actual rats. And
What the fuck?
they had to move. They had to move out of their headquarters and move to they had to rent. They're like basically leasing office space because there was too many rats. And the thing that was the kicker and like why they had to get out of there was the rats were eating evidence. All I could think, and especially when they said that they were eating weed, I was like, I would love to find the guy who was up on trial for like having 5 pounds of weed in the trunk of his car, and like the fucking rat. No evidence. They got to let this guy go.
They ate it all.
I'm totally happy that guy's
I'm rooting
not
for that guy.
And then he does like that Crip Walk video out of the thing. We're gonna have a nice little gif. That's gonna be dope. Yeah.
Weren't there stories back in the day, Pablo Escobar, like the rats would eat like $1 million in cash? Because these guys had so much cash they didn't know what to do with. They couldn't put everything, so they just had fucking shit stacked up, and the rats would munch on the shit. Like they're just like they're eating the paper,
crazy.
Whatever. They're starving.
You would figure the goats would eat it too, because he had a whole animal kingdom down there. Like there's
He had
stuff
a
now.
zoo. Yeah.
There's stuff now about how like the hippos that he had on his in his place are just like a danger to society, because they're like hippos are like extremely aggressive, and now there's just hippos
Yes, they are.
that
Everywhere.
shouldn't be there, that are just they're just like, fuck it, man, we're gonna smash up your house.
They should get the hippos and put them into New Orleans to take care of the rats. I mean,
They're vegetarians, though. That's the problem. MSS. They're vegetarians.
Oh.
You would need to get some Godzillas in there to eat them all up. MSS, why don't you do me a favor though, buddy? Why don't you pay some bills?
Let's do this.
Looking for delicious seafood options that are Jesus approved this Lenten season? Look no further than Lawrence's Fish and Shrimp. We've got a wide variety of mouth-watering options to satisfy your cravings, including succulent shrimp, flaky fish, and even crispy frog legs. Whether you're observing Lent or simply looking for a tasty meal, our seafood is sure to hit the spot. And remember, make it a combo for only $5 more. Stop by one of our 4 locations today or visit our website at chicagoshrimp.com to place an order for pickup or delivery. Come see why Lawrence's Fish and Shrimp has been serving up the seafood you crave since 1950.
Just beautiful.
Now, David, we have an in there. So anytime you and the boys up at the new location need some Lawrence's Shrimp, we will send it your way. They definitely like to take care of it. We still owe you a nice thank you, like bottle, edible arrangement, big huge thing of fried shrimp. I don't know, whatever you want, we'll send it your way. Okay.
I thought he was gonna say edibles, and then he said edible
that too.
That's what I thought. Okay. You're talking about
I got those too, and I can
shaped
definitely
fruit.
put them on toothpicks and arrange them in a vase. So no problem.
So, guys, a few months back we had on Jeff Passan, and this exchange happened. As we try and judge a Chris Getz, right? Like how am I supposed to judge Chris Getz in year one coming through this?
I would judge Chris Getz on how he does in the Dylan Cease trade, if in fact there is a Dylan Cease trade, and I do think there's going to be a Dylan Cease trade.
Well, that time has come. We need to discuss how he did in the Dylan Cease trade. We ran a poll this morning. 60% of the people said it's fine. That's everybody was pretty much at the majority of people were at kind of, I'm fine with this. This is okay. I want to ask you guys, and let's pull up the trade real quick. It was Dylan Cease for Drew Thorpe, and I don't want to fuck up his name, but I believe it's Jairo Iriarte, Samuel Zavala, and Steven Wilson. These guys are all immediately in the top 10 of White Sox prospects, except Steven Wilson, who we'll talk about later. But Dave, first reactions on the trade. How do you feel? How do you feel Getz did here?
Okay, did you guys listen to my instant reaction today?
I did. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll state it again here. You guys already know what's coming. I am at the point where sans a mega prospect like a Jackson Holiday or the few guys that Texas had that are in the top 5 that I looked at, I'm wowed by. It was all going to be just a variation of hate. How much do I hate this trade? Because the White Sox in the year 2024 were theoretically supposed to be in their contention window. So they're not. And the fact that they're trading Dylan Cease instead of instead of him being their 3, which we thought he was going to be.
Right.
It's hard for me to stomach that. And so, but when I take my fandom away and look at it, like the poll said, I'm fine with it. Sure. Cool. Go ahead. It's just hard for me to conjure any emotion right now other than disappointment with them for anything that they're doing.
That seems natural
it's
too. Yeah.
It's unfortunate when you think about why this is a good return for Dylan Cease, and it's because the next 2 years of Dylan Cease are kind of worthless to the Sox, right? Mm-hmm. There's no point in having him here. You think back to when the Sox traded for Lance Lynn, similar situation, right? Where what are the Rangers doing with Lance Lynn at that point? Nothing. They're rebuilding that team. He's a pointless piece on that team. Of course, you're going to trade him for something, and this is where the Sox are.
I'm just bummed because that's the one piece of our rotation that was set. We had one pitcher that we knew was going to come out, and we had a chance to win the game. And they're all right, well, let's get rid of him. And because I don't think these guys are coming up immediately, right, guys? I don't think they're going to be there opening day. No,
not opening day, but I think Thorpe will. I think we'll see Thorpe in.
I would imagine we will
in short order. Yeah, I think he'll probably be here.
He's pretty much ready. I think if you don't see him, it's just them working on his time in the league so that he doesn't have to get paid immediately. Beef, I got a fun fact for you on Iriarte. Okay. You wrote a blog in 2018.
I knew this was coming. Let's go.
About how the Sox were handling being in the penalty versus how the Padres were handling being in the penalty for international draft picks. And what we talked about a bunch since then, even because there was guys in the Juan Soto trade and some other trades that the Padres made that were from that batch. Preller just got a huge
right where the max you could spend was $300K on anyone. You couldn't go above $300K. That was the penalty box back then. The Sox barely bought anyone. They bought 3-4 guys. The Padres would buy a bunch.
The Sox, what they did was traded away their prospect, their cap, the money that they could spend. Mm-hmm. So their spending bonus, they traded that to other teams for players who didn't end up being anything. And then they drafted only a few, or picked up only a few guys. Brian Ramos is one of them, so good job.
Yeah, so
but then
the box there.
The Padres just have this huge list, and Iriarte's in that list, 2018, for $75,000, and now he's coming in the Dylan Cease trade. Beef, overall, other than that, what do you think about this trade in general? Where do you see these guys fitting?
Well, it's interesting. I consider myself low. Well, I'm second to lowest man on Dylan Cease. Chuck Naso's below me. He can't stand Dylan Cease. But Dave made me extra mad just a second ago when he said Dylan Cease was only supposed to be our 3, and I'm thinking, yes, and we got such a better outcome than that, and we still couldn't do a goddamn thing with it. Dylan Cease is like easily a number 2 starter, potentially a 1 when he's good. Like it's like he fucking overshot his shit, and we still didn't do dick with it. But Treasy, when the trade came through, the first things that were going through my head, and like I kind of want to bat the first question back to you guys in a second here is like I'm watching it and you're getting pitcher, and then the Steven Wilson name came through before Zavala's name came, Samuel Zavala's name, because there was another pitcher, and I'm like, oh, this is a fucking reliever, who cares? And so I am immediately turned off by a real pitcher-heavy trade, only because of the risk. There's a lot of volatility and risk in these guys. Do you think, and I'll point this back at Dave first, but Treasy and MSS feel free to chime in too. Do you think that they're pushing like an important trade like this, pitcher heavy, because that's just the best value they can get? Or does Chris Getz just trust the pitching apparatus so much more because he's got Brian Bannister in place, where he doesn't have a Brian Bannister on the hitting side?
Yeah, that great question. I have no idea. I mean, we'll learn this over time as he makes more moves, I would imagine, but I have no idea. Like I saw one guy on Twitter say, "Oh yeah, Chris Getz just used the trade value calculator," because it was like exactly even, you know.
It was almost exactly even. It was pretty hilarious, yeah.
To me, I think that in general, and this is so beyond my baseball brain, but go best players you can possibly get regardless of position. And I know that's not it's not something like football, for instance, where it's a more linear, you kind of know what you're getting. Baseball, there's so much volatility. Right. But like I do think he is targeting a specific kind of makeup for sure, based on what we saw. And I'm not just I know I just shit on Grandal for a minute, but that he was far from the only issue. Like far from it. The whole team they didn't like each other, but that's, beside the point. Anyways, he is targeting a specific makeup, and like when I see this this Thorpe kid, that's a pitcher before like a Kopech type,
Right. It's a way different. Yeah. He's a strike thrower. He's got the great change up. He's got even better. Like even it's like he's like he's like Kyle Hendricks almost. Like it's like a guy who's going to throw a lot of strikes for you, baby. And it's like when you throw him out there, I saw him as the part of the trade, Dave, where it's like we won't get embarrassed because this guy will at least be okay as a starting pitcher. This will not embarrass us,
Yeah, and the reliever, I've never even heard of him prior to this trade. Just some stock right-handed reliever. I'm assuming that can throw strikes and get outs here and there.
He has the worst, like one of the worst ground ball rates in the league. So I'm very scared of how many balls I'm going to catch from him.
Okay, I did not know that.
I did, only because Treasy sent that in the chat earlier. Lova, I think you needed to add pitching. Regardless, like, I mean, they seem to be focusing on let's just like capture all of the low-hanging fruit pitchers that are available that are like a decent cheap price and shake it and then see what happens. Because they're really like they're in a position right now where they have to figure something out starting pitching wise, because it's like there's nothing. There's literally nothing. So you need to have these prospects coming in to build up something, and maybe, and you might be right, maybe he fully believes in Bannister's ability to develop these dudes and or at least put them on the right path or see something in them that he can work with. So I mean, that's a good thing, right? Like, I think that's a good thing. At least you're believing in your dude. And then if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But like, shit, we had guys that we thought were going to work out that didn't fucking work out. So I don't know. It's just, I think the pitching is probably the number one thing they need to find and get a hold of, because that's a big thing. And then you hope that your guys that with the bats actually start hitting like they have bats, like that would be nice for some of these guys to actually turn out the way they were supposed to turn out. Like an Andrew Vaughn, for instance. Maybe start doing the things that you've been promising everyone you were going to do as soon as you left field that you still haven't done yet. So we're getting
allegedly. Treasy, what do you think? What do you think about that?
This will sound a little weird. When because we're talking about pitchers, but it does feel like Chris Getz tried to limit his risk in this trade. And the reason I say that is because if you think about the way prospects are graded, he probably could have got higher graded prospects. But if you look at the Sox top 10, just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, Noah Schultz is number 2, right? And we could all agree, and everybody in the comments will go, oh man, the stuff, it's great. He looks amazing. But he's 29 innings into his professional career. They're planning to get him maybe 30, 35 innings this year. He's very far from us ever seeing what he is, and there's so much that could happen on the way.
Treasy, I think the plan is 65 to 8. 65 to 80 innings this year, so not even 100 innings yet.
He'll be at 90 innings over 2 years by the time we're done with this, and so you're far from seeing what he is. A guy like Thorpe is pushing on the majors right now, right? And you could put him out there, and he could be a guy very soon. So you've already taken away a lot of the risk of will this guy develop? Do we have to develop him? He's kind of there. And then with Iriarte, you could hit it big with him being a starting pitcher and throwing 95 to 98 miles per hour. But there's still a high ceiling on him, especially if you believe in Bannister, to say the worst that we get out of this is a late innings reliever, right? And so you look at those two and you're like, okay, this is an easy trade for me in a year or two to be going I did good on this trade. I did what I was supposed to do, as opposed to maybe getting 3 or 4 guys that are 19 years old, highly rated prospects that the fans are okay, well, I've been sitting through 3-4 years of total garbage, and now maybe these guys are ready if they didn't get injured, if they didn't regress. I think that's where he went. He went with I'm going to take the thing that has the least risk for me, and I can use these guys kind of right away. I can plug them in. I think the Zavala thing was a nice kicker in here. I think that he's a that if you're taking a lottery,
I wanted to bring that up too, Treasy. White Sox Dave, you had some thoughts on Zavala when you gave your immediate reaction with Chief. Why don't you lay those on us right now?
We're assuming that he was kind of the sweetener that put it over the edge, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Probably Thorpe and the reliever were agreed upon, another piece, whatever. I know it's a different staff technically, but at the same time, I don't trust the organization to really fully tap into the tools of a guy like that.
That's the scary part.
That's even a more higher variance profile than Yohan Moncada had. He wasn't striking out 33% of the time and walking 18% of the time.
No,
there's a lot to work with there, but it's do you trust that they're going to do it? I'm done putting my trust in them for this kind of stuff.
I think that's a valid way to look at it. But I think he's made enough changes, and when you guys were talking to him in the interview too, he kind of says, he mentions things that he did to actually make the change, and that's something that is good. He's highlighting this person's the aspect of what he liked about the coach to bring him in versus, we all like Daryl Boston, so we're just going to keep him over there at first base.
We'll get later, but
we'll get to the Getz interview.
Fall, so I don't know.
So we'll get to that Getz shit in a little bit. A few minutes.
You got to do it.
We were chatting as soon as the trade went down, and we saw the Zavala name pop up. I looked him up, and my immediate reaction to you was they should flip this guy immediately.
Well, I'm listening. Yeah, we're laughing about that. I'm looking at different stuff or whatever. He's 19 years old, and Dave brings up the stats: 33% K rate, which is way too much. That's way too much. But 18% walk rate. Guy's got a great eye as well, and it's you never know the strikeouts, how much of that is bad umpiring, what the fuck it is.
Right. But his profile does say a lot of swing and miss in last year.
So. A lot of swing and miss. But you look at that as the pot. That's the pot sweetener, though. We were talking about, if that was the main piece, you're man, they really fucked this up. But it's okay to take flyers on those guys. But like Dave said, they never get those guys across the line. They never take that guy who you're oh man, the Micker Adolfos of the world. They never get them across the line. Like, they get them far. They're like, oh, you got all the way up to Double-A and you played pretty good. And it's like, you never make it to the majors. And it's like, it would be a big change, Dave, if they turned this kid into a regular, is my personal opinion.
It would be a big shock to me if that happened for the White Sox. Like that's the thing. Like, if that were a player the Houston Astros, made a deal for, and he was a sweetener in whatever deal, it would be a meticulous development path for him, and then that they would put him in the absolute best possible position to succeed as a baseball player. I hope Chris Getz knows how to do that and has built a staff that will appropriately do that. I'm done trusting the White Sox to do that no matter what.
It's hard to trust him. It's hard to trust him because he was in charge of that.
That's right.
He was in charge of that for years, and like, we continually had Oscar Colases who make it to the majors, and you're like, oh, this guy's going to be a guy, and then he gets to the majors, and you're like, this guy has never played baseball in his life.
He looks terrible. Like, we're in awe of how bad this man is playing right field. I want to flip one question here for you, Treasy. You mentioned Steven Wilson, and when I saw the name come across, I'm like, who? And people were a couple people who are like real nerdy baseball people are making fun of me. It's like, oh, he's a good reliever, bro. Don't worry about it. Let me ask you this question. Is he remember in Moneyball when Billy Beane makes the trade, but he says, wait, I need soda money? He's the soda money of this trade, right? Brian, this guy, the Steven Wilson guy, he's like, I need a reliever because all my relievers are dying out there in Arizona. Send me any fucking reliever with this. And that's him, right?
That's what it felt like, because all the relievers are getting hurt, right? Like, you're going to have a bunch of guys starting the season on the shelf. Touki Toussaint has no idea where he's throwing the ball. Like, there's nothing. There's like, we walked into this going like, it's kind of cool what Brian Bannister's putting together for the bullpen. And like, half the guys that Brian Bannister brought in, their arms fell right off. And then Wilson has a 1.17 whip, but he throws a ton of fly balls, which is probably okay in San Diego. It is not okay in Chicago. Right. And like, the fact that he only has a 25% ground ball rate, that is horrible.
I didn't know it was that bad. That's like, holy shit bad.
When Treasy told me last night, I'm like, oh shit.
The ground ball rate from on Baseball Savant is it just says go fuck yourself. It doesn't even have like
LOL.
Yeah.
And like,
it's
that
LOL gift that Beeflope always does.
That's troubling. That's troubling. So I'm a little worried about him. Hey, maybe he's great. Maybe I'm just misinterpreting the statistics here, right? But like, that's a damning statistic, especially like when you think about what you want when you get a pitcher in guaranteed rate, and what you don't want in a hitter. You want a guy who's going to have the ball go on the ground, and especially when you go, hey, we fixed up all the fielding, man. You fix up all the fielding, and then they're just hitting home runs. That ain't helpful. No. So like, I don't know. That guy. I'm not as excited as others, but they do need an arm. That's why I was like, that's why I wrote a blog not too long ago. I was like, they need Brian Shaw before they had signed him, because like, somebody's got to throw the ball. Like,
he'll stay healthy and throw it. He might not be good, but he'll stay healthy.
These are the years I wish like Ryan Burr was back.
Right, exactly. Yeah, he'll just go in there and pitch angry, because that's what he did when he got in there. But I liked watching him pitch. Yeah. Exactly. That's the right guy. I got one last thought on this trade, and I want to direct this question to White Sox Dave, because immediately in my head when I saw the trade come up, I'm like, all right, we got to make this comparison immediately. Did the White Sox do better than the Milwaukee Brewers did trading Corbin Burnes? Now, Burnes only has 1 year left. Now, maybe a little higher caliber pitcher than Cease, but Cease has 2 years of control. I'm putting the trade up right now. The Orioles traded Joey Ortiz, DL Hall, and the 35th pick in the 2024 draft for Corbin Burnes. Did the White Sox at least do better than that? Or do you think that the Brewers did better with their haul with Corbin Burnes?
You guys tell me. I like the 34th pick, that also should be interpreted as the 34th pick pool money, which is important right now when you have a finite amount of money to spend in a draft.
Absolutely.
But I don't want to be. I haven't been at the point where I can start obsessing over prospect rankings anymore. So like I see these names exchanged and they're just names to me because outside the like obvious, top few in the better systems, I don't know guys anymore. But like I think gun to head, and I did look into obviously the Orioles and Milwaukee trade when it happened. They're all just fucking guys to me. They're all the same to me.
Yeah, nobody's firing those real high-end prospects.
And a lot of these guys are first guys, right? Like the guys in that trade are, especially Hall is, if I'm remembering correctly, right? Is it Ortiz or Hall? Is like just a glove?
Ortiz is the glove first shortstop.
Glove first.
Yes.
Guy. Yeah. And like so when you look at a guy like that, and he's glove first, the floor for that guy, assuming he's going to make it to the majors, is like a utility guy. And a utility guy is like league minimum, right? You look at the floor for a guy like Thorpe, where it's like number 4, number 5 starter. Those guys are worth like $10 million, right? Like so, right. I mean, I'd rather have Thorpe. Of course, I'd rather have Cease for 2 years. But that's the
realistically
thing. You're not going to have that. So I think if you're looking upside, like I feel like it's a lot easier to get a really good run out of a guy like Thorpe, who's going to throw strikes, who's got a really good change, could hopefully stay healthy with that kind of pitch mix, and then teaching a glove first shortstop to become a bat, right? Or taking a young guy that's maybe a higher ceiling prospect, but like, is that gonna pan out? They don't always pan out, so. Yeah, I think I'm I'm leaning back into the safety of how I felt about the Chris Getz trade as opposed to the
volatility of that one potentially.
Yeah, there's a lot of volatility there.
That's all I got on that trade. If MSS would like to hit the commercial lever, that would be great.
No, I'm here for you, buddy. Looking to get lucky this March? Look no further than Mazda of Orland Park. We've got the hottest deals on high-performance vehicles that will make you feel like you found a pot of gold. Whether you're looking for a sleek sedan or a sporty SUV, we've got the perfect ride to fit your needs. We're celebrating St. Patrick's Day with special deals and incentives. 1.9% APR financing for 36 months on the all-new 2024 Mazda CX-50. So come on down to Mazda of Orland Park and test drive your new ride today. Don't miss out on this golden opportunity to drive away with a Mazda that will make all your friends green with envy. Mazda of Orland Park, home of the Zoom Nation. 8910 West 159th Street, Orland Park. 708-444-3200. Zoom.
All right. Well, Chris Getz sat down with our guy White Sox Dave recently, which we want to talk about, but it also gives me a chance to use this drop again.
Chris Getz spoke to the media today.
I say, what did the man say on the stage? And he says, Pop, the man comes out and says these things. I said, well, what did he say? He says, Pop, he comes out and says some stuff. I said, what did he do? He says, Pop, he walks out and he goes, hello, suck this and MF and kiss my big black stuff and suck it and stick it down your mouth and suck it.
I'm never not going to be excited to play that. We're all going to go around and ask you some questions about this about the interview, Dave. But I'll kick it to Beef and let him start it off.
Dave, the interview was terrific, but it got me thinking. You had mentioned at the top before you guys went into the interview that you had never met Chris Getz before. Mm-hmm. You're rolling up to the interview, you see him or he's coming through, whatever. You start sizing him up. What are your initial thoughts? And then who out of your group is the chatty Cathy that gets nervous and has to like talk his ear off before the show starts? That's what I want to know.
So typically when I've done this, I have just I don't like them going out of their way to do too much for me. So I'll be like, hey, if you can just get us like a back office corner. If you guys remember the Lance Lynn interview from last year at spring, we were legit 3 feet apart and it was super awkward because I'm asking you. So
that's a big dude.
So as technology's advanced, we don't need an electrical outlet anymore. So we're like, hey, just literally throw us wherever you want. And they're like, well, let's just have the batting cages in the background. It'll be a cool setting. I'm like, perfect. So we were just chilling out there. It was wide open. You weren't all claustrophobic, making it awkward, which helped right off the bat. And when he walked up, normal as can be, what didn't seem like rushed or anything. Like he was just like he was ready for a solid interview, and he knew that he was going to be there for, you know, an extended amount of time, not just like a post-game microphone in the mouth. And right out the bat, Chief, like, because the Chief doesn't give a shit about the White Sox, so he like started, you know, talking to him about Michigan football and whatever, and that was kind of the icebreaker. And after that, it was just normal. But like I had no idea going into it what to come of it. I wasn't necessarily blown away with like how I did or how the interview came out. I wasn't disappointed either, but like moving forward, I'll know based on this interview how to approach an interview to make it better with him. So I do think it was fine by like my own judgment. But and Chris, like he was a stand-up guy, like super cool, funny, like really candid, and I appreciated that.
Beef, you still got more? Or you want me to jump in?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
I saw it,
baby.
So he talked about a lot of stuff, and we definitely, if you're watching this, go watch the mid show where Dave has the extended interview. There's a lot of great stuff in there. It's always good when someone is willing to like say some things. Actually, you know, there was a few things that definitely snuck in there where, like, you know, there's a lot of GM, like Chris Getz has a different brand of GM speak. It's more baseball playery, right? It's like you got to be selfless, and like it's all about the team, and like it's like, okay, we got to get that. But like there was some things where I was like, ooh, he said probably more than he wanted to say there. One was when you guys were talking about, you know, they got to be prepped to play 162 games, right? Like that's the mentality that he wants and stuff. And I was like, this is some rah-rah bullshit. And then he goes something about, I want them to think about what they're putting in their body. I want them to stay hydrated. And I was like, oh, he's talking about some specific guys here.
Yeah, he is.
Like, did you get that feeling too, Dave? Did you feel like maybe like guys are like partying too much or just not taking care of themselves?
I don't think they're necessarily taking care of themselves for sure. I mean, we've seen the Instagram stories that are very public, like with Kinkata and Robert, and obviously Lance Lynn was very on record about loving beer.
Yes.
So yeah, like Beef Loaf, I think it was Beef Loaf that said it. Like it was Treasy. His version of GM speak is more baseball-y. So to answer Beef Loaf's original question, that was the immediate impression that I got, that this is a baseball guy, not. I mean, obviously he is very smart, and he attended Michigan, and he has an econ degree from there, I believe, right?
I mean, that's impressive. Yeah, he's a baseball guy as opposed to a suit, strictly.
Yes,
right. Yeah.
Yes, and I thought that came out very well in the interview.
Yeah.
MSS?
Yeah, no, I like the interview. And I like it for certain reasons that, like, well,
if you guys didn't like it, you can say so. I promise.
I loved it.
Tell you.
I loved it. I've listened to it a couple times already, and I think you just do a better job getting in there than most of the other media. You did it with Rick Hahn 3 different times that I remember. It was like, I want to hear this. I would never listen to fucking Rick Hahn's interviews except if you did them, because I know you're going to get something, and I'll hear something in there. It's like, okay, I actually learned some shit here. And with Getz so far, they've been handling with kids' gloves. They've been asking some questions a little bit, but you actually got in on some questions, and like he didn't fully answer some of them. Some of them he gave you some info there. So like, I defend us as a group. I think we all liked it. We were missing each other.
There were like, I don't know, a half dozen questions that I didn't get to, where I was getting the Oscar music saying like, "Hey, time, we got other shit to do." I got like this. So. But I mean, like, and hopefully by the time I interview him next, that like I won't have to ask those questions.
That's the thing.
It was uncomfortable going in there when the organization knows how pissed off I and we are as fans, and kind of putting them to that fire. You know, it is an awkward position for sure.
Yeah, no, and you got to play nice enough that you need to get back. Like you can't go in there and be like, "Yeah, this team sucks dick." And fuck this and fuck that, and like this guy hasn't really fucked anything up yet, other than the farm. Like there's only like what he had control
it's only
of.
7 years,
allegedly.
So I mean, you know, hey, like, if you want me to tell you what I didn't like about the interview, the number one thing I didn't like about the interview is you didn't drop our names. I didn't like that. I was like, when's Dave's going to bring up the 108 stuff? And I thought that was coming. You know, I was like, all right. This is going to happen.
That was my list of questions I came to, like I said.
But you're going to be able to do it again. I like the discussions of the baseball stuff. And I know that maybe I'm getting taken for a ride on this stuff, but like, I like him giving out more information and making it sound like, hey, we've identified this problem and this is the solution. And this is why the guy is the solution because of what he's done in the past, right? Like you got Barfield, who was a farm guy with a team that just went to the World Series with like a lot of prospects and guys that they had in-house that they brought up. Okay. Like a different way of thinking. You got a Bannister, the same thing with fucking the Red Sox and being in there, going as a scout, going into analytics, going into then like player development and working with the pitching staff. Like these are solid solutions to a problem. And then the batting coach, and I can't remember his name, but the guy that was working with Trout and
Marcus Thames.
And so like, it's just like, these are the things that like I like to hear that. And it might just be more GM speak and I might be getting taken for a ride, but it sounds a lot better than, you know what, guys, we just have to try better. We need our guys to hit. And not just saying Todd Stevenson's really going to work with them this year because of look what he's done with Daniel Polk. They're saying, no, look what this guy did with these other guys. He has some success. We're going to bring him in and have him. It's not just I like the guy, so we're going to keep him around. So that's one thing that I think is positive. And then kind of to build on that point, Loaf just had Tom Fornelli on the Aju.
I did.
And Tom said something that I had said in a podcast before. And I said, do you guys like that you have a former baseball player in a GM role, like a more of a baseball player guy? And then what the way that Loaf responded, I think kind of shut us off track. But Tom Fornelli said on the Aju, it's nice to see former baseball players back into these roles on teams. He's like, you had a chance where you had like after Moneyball, you had these CEO types and these guys coming out of grad school and whatever, Yale's, but smart dudes and throwing them in there. Now we're getting like kind of like a hybrid. I'm assuming a lot of these guys are hybrids. Like Chris Getz is definitely a hybrid, smart dude and baseball player. And there's a lot of smart baseball players. So like you have these in, and he didn't hold Tom's feet to the fire like he did on me on the fucking 108 podcast.
Well, I got a quick question for MSS. MSS, did someone pay $5 for this 5 minutes, or do you have a question for Dave?
We're talking about these things that I can't talk about in other segments, motherfucker. This is
I like it.
Just to straighten it up.
Don't bully you, MSS.
What MSS specifically asked Teresi and I is, do you believe Chris Getz more because he was a former player when he says something?
Does his words hold more value?
Yeah, and our words were no, it doesn't. No, but what Tom's point was is it's nice to have a guy who knows the analytics who also played, so that like the language barrier, the communication's better, because he said there's nothing worse than a fucking nerd with a spreadsheet who never believes they're wrong, who can never put themselves in a position of, I was out there doing that, I realized how you could fuck that up. He was
basically
making that point.
That is incredibly different.
I'll say,
shut up. You're just covering for yourself.
Players I talked to off the record appreciate having him in front office because he gets it from their perspective. Guys that are maybe option casualties and stuff like that. That they're like they appreciate how Chris Getz has handled it prior to the previous regime.
It's interesting. He may have a substantial edge with that at the edges of the rosters, as just being a guy who understands and can talk to.
Yeah, exactly. That's not.
That helps. No, that's not nothing. That helps for sure.
I think that was where the previous regime really failed.
They screwed up a lot in that spot.
They couldn't build a team around the guys that were good.
Now, Dave, this question is going to be a little longer. So I apologize. I'm going to read a quote because I caught it.
Hope you got $5.
I caught it in the second listen when I'm walking back to my car. I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck was said there? So hang on just 1 second here. It's about 10 minutes into the interview. You're asking Getz about some of the front office changes, like some of the new people he added. And like MSS said, he went down the line and he actually explained to you specifically, here's why he brought this guy in. And the Gene Watson stuff was really interesting and fun, but I'm not going there here. But then he says, and also, and I quote, he says, and also, not only the people we brought in, but we had some talent that needed to be uncovered and let them go and really show what they're capable of doing. And the way to do that is to structure the organization in a way where it's very collaborative and there's a clear leader in the room. Obviously, I continue to bring up selflessness, but they just operate in a manner understanding the direction we're going in, understanding the difficulties of the game, and just a relentlessness on finding excellence. Who in the org in the front office do you think he's talking about? Is this Mike Shirley and the amateur scouting? Like, who is the component here that he's saying wasn't really allowed to shine with the last group? Is kind of the way I'm reading this.
Was it himself?
I was gonna say him.
Maybe it's him. Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, could be.
I would like to think he's talking about himself because I mean he's the guy running the show now, and I remember catching that, but I had he was long-winded. He was
very long-winded because that goes on way more. I cut it
right,
at
I know
that
it goes
point.
on a ton, but by the time he finishes the answer, you can't ask that question because it was in the middle of a 5-minute answer,
Yeah.
So, I remember perking up at that point too, and I'm like, is he talking about himself? That's kind of throwing some shade at the chairman a little bit.
A little
bit. But he's the guy running the show now, and you guys, including him, have laid out all the complimentary hires that he's made since being named the head honcho under Jerry, and I hope he's talking about himself, and he's like, you know what, I'm gutting it from where I see was where the pain points of the organization that I saw, and I'm filling those gaps with people that I trust. So. And I wasn't allowed to do that as the previous director of player development. So I hope he was talking about himself. I wish I had more time to digest that answer though, because that was
there was an interesting thought there, that he laid out there for us. And truth be told, there was. Oh, go ahead, Treasy.
I was going to say, to that point though, you did ask him about a guy that I've been critical of quite a bit, which is Marco Patti, where Marco Patti has really not gotten off of one island. For the most part, and so you did ask him about that, and he did say that they're building things up in the Dominican. They're getting more people to the academy and things like that. So I mean, Beef, to your point, could be Shirley, could be Patty. I was glad you asked that question because that's a guy that I was like, why is he still here?
Mm-hmm. I was glad when he brought that up too. I was like, well, let's see what Getz has to say about Marco Patti. If he didn't feel real definitive either, so I'm not 100% sure if he loves Marco Patti or not. But they went in a different direction this last signing period, so something changed, some ideology changed there for sure. To follow up on both of these questions, there, do you think that that brand of questioning was a more clear shot at the Kenny and Rick regime, or was it how much he was gloating about Max Stassi and Martin Maldonado over the much hated Yasmani Grandal? Because I had that in my question too. I'm he is really going on a lot about these catchers, which makes me believe and we know what those guys are. Those are just they're good defensive catchers, fine, but this is a shot at Grandal and it's a shot at Hahn and Kenny, right? I mean, that's the way I was reading it, at least.
This is sheer conjecture. This is nothing that I've heard. I hate that I have to preface stuff that I say with that, but at this point I do, unfortunately. I think that the front office, like the clubhouse, also just completely hated each other. And I don't want to say I shouldn't say hate each other.
They didn't see eye to eye, kind of they just weren't on the same page, basically, right?
Who was the assistant GM? Haber.
Jeremy Haber.
Haber. It didn't seem like anybody was pulling from the same rope at any given point. 1 year you're drafting Jake Berger type, the next year you're drafting. It never seemed to gel at all in the last 7 years, and I hope that it's a similar answer to the other one. I hope that Getz has the wherewithal to streamline everything, at least through him. So there's one person calling the shots and all the information funnels that direction.
Well, wasn't it in 2020 or 2021, post playoff, Steve Stone is on the score and he's talking about how the pitchers were being limited by the catchers because the pitchers were afraid to throw low and away balls because they weren't solid that the catcher was going to stop it. So they're I can't do this because then I'm going to give up a run, and I'm not doing that. And I think it was 2020, and Steve Stone said that. So I mean, the hate on Yaz has been going on for years.
For a while, yeah.
And like this inability to catch. That was our running joke for a really long time. Loaf, we were just like, Yaz is a catcher that can't catch.
Right.
Like, he always would miss the ball.
It's kind of a rough spot
crucial
there.
situations where you need him to catch the ball. He just never could do it.
On that exact note, though,
it's just crazy.
I want to scream this into the rafters so all the people can hear it, or whatever that stupid quote is. I am so tired of hearing, and I know I'm going to get shit for this, but I've said it and I'll dig my heels. I'm tired of hearing about all these advanced metrics at this point. I don't care about Aaron Bummer's FIP. I don't care about Yasmani Grandal's framing metrics. Give me fucking baseball players,
So
That's right.
you said that, and then you couldn't help yourself. You had to go to bat for your number one guy, Danny Mendick. And you're just like, like Danny Mendick. God damn it. He's been fucked over.
That was very intentional.
I love you going after and making sure that he gets in there, because when you get in those spots, you got to pull for your guy. And I would do the same thing if I'm interviewing him and my wife's cousin, TJ McFarland, is there. And I'm like, and that TJ guy, he'll give you everything he's got. Like I would throw his name right out there. But here's the thing. And this is what I'm worried about. How soon are you going to start a podcast once he makes the team and then ruin his professional career?
Harry told him that, keep your distance from me as soon as the regular season starts.
Listen, we share the same fate. Anybody that wears the number 18 and plays for the White Sox, we usually gravitate towards, and then we fucking fuck them up. Like Tyler Saladino. I mean, we don't even know if that guy's gone. Like he's fishing somewhere
and smoking a joint as we
dude. The craziest thing is when Palka went to Korea, he replaced Saladino on that.
Yes.
I remember
that. It was so weird.
20, right?
The four of us tag teamed to ruin Palka's career.
Pretty much. Dan
We're still
Palka
sorry
reached
about
out to me 3 days ago. I forget what I said, but he goes. He was making fun of me for eating McDonald's. I'm like, McDonald's breakfast is awesome. He's like, you're trash. And I'm like,
oh my God.
What, the hash browns? The hash browns are the best fucking thing, man.
Everything on the McDonald's breakfast menu is trash.
I'm a McGriddle guy personally, but yeah, there's a lot of great things.
Well, he's playing in Mexico right now. So
nice.
He threw up something somebody was looking at the cards that we sent out, and he goes, "Hey, there's one of me of those cards." And I'm like, "Yeah, you have all of them because I sent them to you because you said, yeah, I'll sign them all and then I'll send them back to you." And there's 3 years ago. And he's like, "Yeah, they're in the center console. Should I send them back when I get home?" And I was like, "Yes, you should send them back when you get home. I can make all these. You don't even have to sign them. Send them back. We'll make sets. I mean, let's do it. It's fine. It's a piece of history. It's good." But the fact that he still had them, I was like, I figured they were just gone, right? They were sent to Georgia when he lived there. So it's I thought they were just gone. But yeah, for him to be like, "Yeah, they're in the center console of my car. I know exactly where they're at." What the fuck, Dan? Sign the shit. Let's go. Come on.
Dave, one thing I noticed in the interview, and you put Chris Getz to an answer here that I don't think he fulfilled personally. Getz has gotten a lot of shit done. He added a lot of new positions, both in the coaching staffs, in the front office. We've heard on and off the record, the analytics department has gotten a lot bigger since he's been there. But you pressed him on the question of the economics of baseball. And is he going to be able to sign blue chip free agents when the time comes? And he gave kind of a non-answer. What was your
non-answer?
What was your thought on that? And what's your comfort level on that he's actually going to be able to execute that part of the job? Because so far I like some stuff, but this turned me off big time, baby.
If you're not going to go and get those guys, and I'm not even talking about necessarily, which it sickens me that I am allowing 30 baseball teams this benefit of the doubt. Even if it's not the $700 million Shohei Ohtani type mega deals, fine. But even the Bryce Harper deal, I'm not even necessarily talking about that, but what the Phillies did with Wheeler and Schwarber and
Exactly.
And I mean, I think still the biggest free agent contract the Astros have ever signed. It might have been an extension. Was what's Altuve, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was
I think that's right. Yep.
That was $150. So
at least do something. At least make Luis Robert that guy or something like that. At least do something.
Yes. That's why So to tie everything together, Jerry Reinsdorf said he wants to make this as fast as a turnover as possible. That's why I hired Getz, blah, blah, blah. Getz wasn't getting those mega type deals like you got for Quintana, even though those guys ended up stinking ass. Aside from these, Sale, Eaton, whatever. You weren't getting those top 10 prospect types.
Yep.
So why not extend him? Why, like, and I know Scott Boras isn't going to talk. Scott Boras, it's first of all, I'm pretty sure he's legally obligated to answer the phone, so to speak, on any single offer.
Dave, Scott Boras got 2 free agents right now dying on the vine out there on the free agency. He would take a reasonable deal for Dylan Cease tomorrow.
I'm saying, like, hey, float, 7 years, 200, whatever, like, seems fair, like. But like that wasn't even considered at all at any point of this prior to him being dealt. And to me, that just shows they're not going to be those players. So,
Dave, it's because we're on 35th and Shields, buddy. We need to be in the 78. Then we got the $700 million contract. He said
I have no choice to believe that's going to happen if they move to that park. Like that's my last.
It's not going to happen.
That's my last shred of hope.
It won't happen.
Dave, he did answer that question a bit though. He did say, "Oh well, of course we want to develop from within. We got to develop from within," which is the way of saying like we're not going to spend.
Yes.
Like we're not going to go out and pay for a pitcher is what he said with that comment. And that's why you see a pitcher heavy deal for Dylan Cease, because Getz knows that's the way he's going to obtain pitchers. Like it's not going to be it's not going to be through free agency. Like, so maybe he just has a feeling like, okay, maybe I could sign some middling bats, and that's how I'll build the offense. And then the pitching's all got to come from either international draft, or trades,
scrap
and and the scrap heap, and that's you talk about Brian Bannister, right? Like in Brian Bannister, he talks a lot about that, about guys being incorrectly used. Right, or guys that aren't optimizing for their stuff, and so like I think we will see Beef a lot of scrap heap guys. But Dave, like when you talk to him about Bannister, and he's talking about like incorrect usage, and then you get back, and the first thing that happens is Kopech is moved to the pen. Do you think that was always the plan, and they're just like, we're just going to let it happen?
I think that was probably, they're like, hey, he's got one last half of spring training, otherwise he's going to the pen. And that like and that when that happened today, right? That they said he was
yeah.
That's the first thing I thought of was his answer with Bannister there. So I think that is directly correlated, and it's like, all right, like even against his start against the Cubs, I was at that game like 2 weeks ago or whatever. He hit the first batter and walked the next batter of the game, and he had he rattled off like 5 strikeouts in 7 batters after that. But it was after and
he hit Madrigal, who's so tiny. How do you manage to hit him?
Fun sized.
Maybe he hates him.
Maybe fine. Like I want that kind of edge. I wish if he hit him on purpose.
If we look at it in a different way, there, Pet, it's pretty amazing that you can hit that small of a target. So like
level precision there to hit
just
him.
Move it over more into the strike zone. That would be good. He's a beautiful guy though, that Michael Kopech. He's this beautiful man and
dapper young man.
So nice. He's a nice dude. He's got a great sister too.
MSS, you got any other questions here?
Not really. I just thought you did a great job, Dave. I like you getting out there and being amongst the people. Even when Eddie's trying to needle you, like in the middle of those interviews to try to get you fired up, like you push him to the side and you're like, just you settle down, Ed. I'm driving the car right now. And so that was good. Chief's coming along in his baseball takes. Still not 80 grade. I would say 40 grade takes from Chief.
40 grade.
40 grade.
Damn, man.
It's pretty bad. It's not great yet. Yeah, because as soon as he'll still talk a little baseball, and especially with the Cubs, he'll maybe in coaches into 60 grade with the Cubs, but he's too easily will go into. But there's just nothing like getting there on Friday in the afternoon and having a beer in the sun, man. you know, and it's like, dude, that's not baseball. You can't talk about that. That's you need to talk about some baseball stuff.
It's Cubs baseball.
Exactly. I'm gonna do that with the Sox.
I'm gonna start doing not a lot of stuff. I'm gonna start doing now that Chuck Naso's in the office and we're together constantly. We'll be doing we fired up a Twitch stream today just to see how it'd go, and we were just talking about the trade a little bit and to fucking 12 people watching. But I wanted to start doing more stuff like that. I did want to start a poker stream with you guys. Can't do that anymore.
I remember that. We talked about that.
Can't do that anymore.
But Tracy and I are taking your idea there. You told us you guys should use that. We have another similar idea that we're working on. So we'll see if we get that up and running.
No, I can't have anything to do with it, unfortunately. So please take it, and it's easy to do. So it'd be fun, you know.
We'll discuss it over dinner that you should buy us.
And that is coming to. I swear to God, I have
kidding.
3 dinners I have to schedule right now. So, and that is at the top of the priority list.
We should all come together. I think it would be a great fucking meeting of whoever else.
I did invite Aloha Mr. Hand as well, and
nice.
I may shoot an invite to Ken WO. Maybe.
Yes.
He hasn't really been on my shit list.
What a table.
He just got pissed on today in the 108 tourney. I don't know if you know that.
Literally.
I need to help the guy he was playing. I'm like, buddy.
Someone urinated on a picture of him.
It was he put a picture of Ken in the toilet and pissed on it.
It was all over it. It was amazing.
It was fantastic.
I told SPF, I'm like, you can get Dave's solid endorsement today for probably nothing in the 108 tourney going against Ken. So use it if you need it. And he's like, fuck that. I'm just going to piss on him in the toilet. And I was like, yeah, sounds good. Go ahead.
It came close to winning. It came close to
winning. Good effort.
It almost worked.
David, as always, great to have you on and good
always
to see
a
you.
pleasure to be on.
Really appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, I will at worst see you guys on opening day eve.
Yes.
And hopefully prior to then, I got to get this El Shea res on the books for us.
Fuck yeah.
Looking forward to it.
All
right, Dave, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Dave.
See you, Dave. Take care, brother. That was great.
Good shit.
Good stuff.
Shit.
Always good to talk to Dave.
That was, that interview was really good. It's something that I think we've never wanted to do. Like we'd like to interview some of the other coaches and maybe some of the other front office people. Yeah. But like the GM is too polished. They're just gonna
we're not gonna be able to slip some stuff by. Like I feel I agree with you, Treasy. A little bit further down the rung, we could get some shit out of him.
Yeah, like a guy who's got no reps talking to somebody.
Right, we'll get some shit out of him.
That's the guy I want. I want the guy who's they're like, oh, you really want to talk to him? Oh yeah, I want to talk to that guy. He might give us a password here or there.
Maybe they're, who knows? I don't know. I think we could have fun with anybody. They throw anybody at us, I think we could have a good time. Between the three of us, I think it would be a good discussion. But I think Dave did a great job too, and I think he, and Loaf, you said at the beginning of this, he got some questions out of him that like other people are not going to get out of him. And Dave, like going back into his fandom here, like you can see it, and that's the one of the more frustrating things about White Sox just in general. If you give us a taste of something, a taste of hope, we fucking lick that shit up. We're just like, yes, give it to us, please. And that's why it's so frustrating when you hear, I can't win at 35th and Shields. I can't do this. I can't do that. It's like, dude, if you did even a little bit, you would be swimming in it, but you just are continually refusing to do it. And God damn it, we'll talk about it at another day.
All right, well, then that means it's time, if I could find it, for thank yous and GFYs. MSS, you go first, buddy.
My biggest thank you is to everyone participating in the 108 tourney. This has been like amazing. It was fun. We were in it, like just the mentions blowing up, and then every time looking and checking what's going on has gotten me fired up to at least like making more content and trying more stuff. So people, I appreciate that. It's been a good run so far. So thank you to everyone that's participating. I know it's not the most fun, especially when you're in the tourney and you got to constantly pump shit and you're pushing yourself. So we appreciate that. I appreciate that. And I know you guys do too. So just keep it going. And then thanks to Dave for last minute invite saying fuck yeah, I'll come on your fucking show. So I appreciate that,
and giving us an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'll give you guys an hour, no problem.
Beef, who you think, Energy F1?
I mean, I want to thank White Sox Dave for that obvious reason. I mean, it's someone who has always given us way more time than we actually deserve, and has always been very friendly and generous to us, not only with his time, but his platform and everything, and having us on the mid show, like just for always being cool to us, and we appreciate that. And we're dear friends with Dave, and I just appreciate him doing all that stuff. I also want to thank Dylan Cease for his time with the White Sox, but more importantly, I want to thank my guy Chuck Naso for being even less of a Cease guy than me, so I don't feel as bad about not being a big Cease guy out there. So thank you, Chuck. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I mean, you got to wonder what Cease does in San Diego. It could go a lot of different ways.
Absolutely.
Just to add on to thank Dave. That was awesome for him to come on, and he did a great job with the interview. And then, of course, the GFY is going to whoever the fuck buys bots.
Yes.
Go fuck yourself. But I'm still gonna have a lot of fun with it, so I don't really care.
Exactly.
Fellas,
It's been good. It's been real.
been a good one. We got some more tourney tomorrow, so
See you tomorrow night.
Yes, sir.
we'll get back into it very shortly, and we'll see you all very soon. Good night.